What's up, you hosers? Welcome to the Unlucky Puckheads podcast. My name is PA Jets fan, and I am joined, as I always am, by my brother and partner in crime, CK. It's going quite well. It's been a while since we did our last podcast, so let's just jump right in, and I'm gonna let you take it with a. Yeah, of course. But you're gonna talk about the Wild, whether you want to or not. So we're gonna bleed into that. How have the Wild been doing? You're going to anyway. No. Oh, you know I could talk about that for a while, but I'm not gonna touch that with a 10 foot pole. Yes. Yeah, they absolutely do. I find it uh, not so surprising given what the Central's like this year. We mention it all the time, but I mean, I feel like this year the Central is way worse than it has ever been. I mean, the only two teams that you can say are really bad in this division are Chicago and St. Louis. And it's really tough when I feel like, when your team like the Wild to kind of claw back if you have a slump in that season. And I know there's not that many games, or not that many points, excuse me, in between you and the wild card teams in third, second place in the division. But those teams are also really good. What do you think of the prospects of say you fall behind by 5 or 6 points, and it's toward the end of the season? Do you think the Wild would be able to claw back from that? Right, and I think that's where the the big fight's going to be because, I mean, especially in the Central Division with Winnipeg, with Nashville, with Colorado, I feel like towards the end of the season they're going to be really locked in. So you got to worry about those wild card spots mostly, and that's going to be a tough fight. There's some teams over in the Pacific Division too that are trying to climb into that, but we still got a while to go before the decision's made. So yeah, yeah. Right, right. You're just still dealing with the aftermath of Chuck Fletcher, so it might be a little bit. Yeah, yeah. Let's go into that right now. Yep, yep. Right. I still don't really. After what happened with the Wild, like if I was an owner, he's not really the first person I would go to be a GM. Track record of trading away picks and trading away people that become talent for aging wingers and re-signing aging wingers to bad contracts and trading with Buffalo way too much. Now I seem to remember, you absolutely freaking out when those contracts were signed. So, with excitement, not in negativity. So, looking back on them, you're not so sure about them. I would completely agree. You know, they're definitely solid players, but yeah, I feel like it was just too much of an all in to get those two. Like they were, I feel like at the time, from what I remember, they were supposed to be like the future. You know, the people that would, you know, the two guys that would lead the Wild to the Stanley Cup, and it didn't really turn out that way. So they're great players, but like you said, that contract it's just a bit much. So right. Of course, the media hype machine was always running that. So you know, at that point in time, I didn't know what to believe. But you know, I understand it a lot more now. I'm a lot more jaded now. I see those contracts and I immediately die. Um, you know, I see. I would kind of. You know what? Never mind. I'm not going to go there. You know, I was thinking about talking about a certain player on the Jets and comparing it, but I'm going to go on a rant if I do that, so I'm not going to do that. Oh, well, I'm not going to brag as much as you think I am because you ever see those videos of like it's like, you know, kind of like a third world country like Middle East or something, and it's those like trucks that are stacked way too high with stuff, and they're teetering, and you think, oh my god, the wind's gonna blow them over and everyone's gonna die on board, but in the end they make it and they're fine. That's the Winnipeg Jets this season. My god, it's like we blow every lead we have, but we still come out with the win, and I'm happy about that. But at the same time, we're blowing nearly every lead we have. You know, the last couple games, not the Tampa one, but the last few before there, we've given up some really, really bad goals, either in the second or third, that brings us into overtime. And I really don't like seeing that. That finish that we had from last year is gone. And I feel like it's mostly because the defensive core isn't as strong this year. There's a couple guys who are still kind of getting everything figured out. Myers kind of had to readjust. He was awful up until recently, but he's getting better. And then we had all the injuries, so yeah, that obviously affects that. But I'm constantly worried looking at it. I'm happy for the wins, but I'm constantly worried looking at the team and thinking, you know, this 3 or 4 goal lead isn't as safe as it would have been last year. You know, we could very easily blow this, and it makes me nervous watching a lot of the games. But at the same time, man, we're scoring like crazy, like absolute nuts. Mark Scheifele had 11 points, or has 11 points in his last 4 games. 4 games and 11 points. You know, Blake Wheeler is still a point machine. Kyle Connor is a point machine. Matthew Perot's stepping up. We're really good on the goal scoring front. We just got to lock that down defensively. And I think overall for the Jets, everything's pretty much been par for the course otherwise. It's what you expect. There's no drama. The guys get out there, they do what they have to. The readjustments that need to have been made pretty much have been made. And, yeah, Winnipeg's good right now. And despite the, you know, third period heart attacks I quite often have, you know, I'm happy to see the success. And, man, I'm hoping it continues into the playoffs and we don't kind of, you know, I don't want to call it a choke, but we don't fall out in the final Western Conference final like we did last year. Um, yeah, yeah. And it is getting there. The bad, really, really bad plays have kind of stopped as of late. It's kind of been fixed. You can tell that a couple of the games that we lost that we really shouldn't have, and this is going back a couple weeks now. But Paul Maurice was really angry, and you could really tell, and they were whipped into shape pretty quick. So it's one of those things that we just have kind of have to try and readjust. And again, like you said, I agree with what you said about our defensive lines. Josh Morrissey is pretty much an all-star. Dustin Buffett is the normal Buff. He's doing his normal thing. He makes bad decisions occasionally, but otherwise he's pretty solid. Myers, like I said, has kind of caught up. But then you have Kulikov and Morrow. And if they get caught against, even like the opposing team's second line, third line, that can be bad. If there's a if there's a really bad rush that, like you said, results from a forward being back, you cannot really rely on those guys to save the play, to get in there, to prevent a slot pass, something like that. Whereas we can rely on our top two lines for sure. So, we just got to get some more talent in. We have some more talent coming up. Sami Niku's not quite ready yet, but he's getting there. And I'm not really sure what's going on with Tucker Pullman, but I actually need to look into that. But he's coming up too. So we're looking good in the future. So right now it's just about kind of tying that together, plugging the holes, being a little bit more defensively minded with the forwards, who everybody but Line has been pretty good with that. So we're coming together. It's definitely a team that I'm sure is going to make a good run at the Stanley Cup. And I think I texted you last night with my excitement after the Tampa game. Like, that was an incredible game. My heart will not survive a Stanley Cup final against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It looked like a playoff game. Honestly, there was a lot of intensity from both teams, and it wasn't like like when we play the Wild. How it gets super rough and super dirty. It was a very clean game all around. I think like really the only penalties were like bench minors. So it was just a pure skill hockey game, and it was even if we had lost, I would have heralded that as the best game this year. It was really incredible. And like I said, that final, I kind of hope that happens because that'll be amazing. But other than that, I mean, par for the course for the Jets. Not much has changed since the last time we cast. Really excited for the future, and we'll have to see what happens. Yes. So back to back hat tricks. He has 7 goals in 3 games, and I believe a lot of it is due to who he is paired with. He's paired with Backstrom now, I believe, and Backstrom's been setting him up like nuts. Those two work incredibly well together. But for Ovi, I feel like wow, for his age, I mean that is some incredible talent that he's retaining, and I don't know. It just amazes me that he can be as old as he is. He can be, kind of not at the end of his career, but nearing kind of the twilight years. He's getting close to it, and to still be producing like this, I mean, that is a just pure skill hockey player, and I love every second that I watch of that guy. He is a pleasure to watch, except when he's playing the Jets. Yeah, and one of them is like 20, so yeah, which kind of surprises me. When you're thinking about goal leaders, you don't really expect to hear the name Jeff Skinner, but he's been doing incredible. McKinnon, Rantanen. Yeah. Well, you do you not have new scouts now ever since Fletcher Law left? Didn't they kind of clean house there? And it sometimes it sometimes takes a while. I am intimately familiar with that kind of draft and develop uh, system, and I get the feeling like if the Wild draft right, that player that they need, that scorer, that guy who can put goals in the back of the net, might not be a big name. Look at like Mark Scheifele. He went seventh. He was supposed to go. I believe he was projected to go like 12th or 13th in the draft. Like nobody expected him to be as good as he was, but the scouts saw it in him. Dale Howarchik recommended him, and we took him, and look who he is now. And I think that if the Wild are gonna get that guy, it's not gonna be a guy that's gonna be this star coming up in the draft. I think that you'll be looking at kind of a name where you're like, why did we draft him? Who's that? Why did we draft him so soon? So a little bit of patience, and I think it'll get you there. Seems like that's a system issue with old Brucey boy there. Right. I guess you just gotta train him to not overthink it. Sometimes the smart play is to just shoot it at the net. I know a lot of players try to be defensively minded like that, but it can just take a while, and I'm sure they're working on it. I mean, if he has that ability, it's something that they're, you're going to see from him sooner or later. But just have to see how his development goes and if he can change that around. Because I completely agree with you. He is a fantastic goal scorer. And that can take time. Going back to Shifley again, it took him a few years to get going too, to stop falling over and to, start actually shooting it. So just give it time and we'll see what happens. Do you have any other words on that topic? All right, what's up next? Oh yeah, I wanted to point out. This is just kind of like a funny little thing. Tampa's goal differential going into the last game against us was 42. It's 41 now, but I just wanted to point it out because that was funny. That's also insane. Plus 42 goal differential. Oh my god. We're getting there. It's just taking a little while. I mean, we get scored on a lot, so yeah. It's just you know, defense is a bit shaky. Helly's a bit shaky. We'll get there. They've both improved since the beginning of the season, but I feel like by the end of the season we'll be a lot closer to them. I saw that. I didn't actually see the clip, but I saw that he hit his head off the post. Something happened with the net. I recall. Uh, so goodbye Chicago, even more so than usual, which I'm sure you're just ecstatic about. It's only Jack Hughes this year. It's not a generational player or anything. It's not something that's going to immediately turn their fortunes around, and they still got those contracts. So I think you're safe. I don't think you have to worry about it too much. Chicago's going to be out for a little while. Um, so is like I wanted to bring up St. Louis too. Now that we're talking about bottom of the Central Division teams, what's going on with them? Like genuinely, just what is happening with that team? Yeah, it looks like everybody's kind of deflated, especially the defense. And the last time the Jets played him, we just ran circles around him. It was like kind of embarrassing to be, the St. Louis Blues player that game. And like it's just they look deflated. They look like they know they're not going to have a chance in this division. They just look like they're done. Even their core guys like Tarasenko look like they're just finished with the season. Like they just want to play, collect their paycheck, and go golfing when the season is over. And that does not serve a team well. I know that from experience. But I will definitely take there being less competition in this division. I remember we talked about, one of our casts towards the beginning of the season that we were kind of weighing whether they'd be good or not, and I just want to say that I was right. It's kind of what I'm getting to. I called it. Right, yeah, and yeah, there's a couple teams getting close, but I mean Tampa's just crazy this year. They're always. It seems like these past few years they've been regular season heroes, and then they can't get past the second, third round of the playoffs. Yes. And we all knew that skid was coming. I mean, that was obvious. They weren't going to keep up that pace, but they are a good team, and their fans have been waiting for it for a while. And I find it, Carter Hutton was not a guy who I would look at and think that's going to be an amazing goalie this year. But man, he's been good for him. Jeff Skinner, Jack Eichel, everyone's been contributing on that team. Darlene, everyone. And I'm happy to see that because they're not in the West, and I really like that team in general. The owners, of course, we've talked about this before, funded the state college hockey program. So yeah, I have a lot of love for that team, a lot of love for the owners, and the fans deserve it after all this time. Yes, yes, yes. There was no intentional headshot. Punch him in the back of the head. That's that's what I was just gonna say. Like, if you're in that situation and Dumba just hit your teammate and you're angry at this guy, fight him. Give him a chance. Like, drop the gloves and do it right. Do not tackle him to the ice and punch him in the back of the head. That is a I can't say what I think of that move because this is a safe for work podcast, but that is not acceptable. Yep, yep. It's not like he has a face to get messed up anyway. Yeah. That's a coach response right there. That's what I'd expect. Deal with it. Oh, speaking of Bruce Boudreau, this is kind of off topic, but I just wanted to bring this up because I thought it was hilarious when I saw it. I loved the article about him um, when the fire alarm went off in the hotel, and he didn't feel like getting out of bed. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up while I thought about it because that was pretty funny. I don't know. He might have. Yeah, right. Just at any point, he looks like he should just be standing on the bench coaching and go to sleep. But yeah, I wanted to bring up that story because that was funny. But but yeah, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover today. Also, I wanted to say that with there's a head coach opening with the Flyers. Now I should have brought this up earlier, but I forgot. But my dream coaching situation there. I wanted to run this by you to see what you thought. Head coach Gritty, assistant coach Benjamin Franklin, and assistant coach Charlie from It's Always Sunny. Yeah, exactly. But other than that, I think anything else you want to talk about? Yeah, and I want to point out that just especially for goal scoring this season has been ridiculous. There's so much talent in the league right now. I think this is the most talented. Yeah, this has got to be the most talented the league's ever been, just as a whole. There's so much, and I'm not counting the '80s, like modern. Since 2000, since this most recent um, major expansion. It's just been a pleasure to watch, and I'm looking forward to the second half of the season. But with that, we will see you guys next time. You can visit us at unluckypuckheads.com to see blog posts and get the episodes from us. You can follow us on Twitter at unluckypuckheads, or UPH Podcast, excuse me, and then Unlucky Puckheads on Facebook. This has been PA Jets fan joined by CK. Keep your stick on the ice. We'll see you guys next time.